The Netflix MCU is getting a bit more dangerous this year with the second season of Iron Fist. The show will introduce Steel Serpent and Typhoid Mary, one of Marvel's weirdest and boldest female villains. We already knew that Serpent was around the corner, but Mary will also enter the universe as Iron Fist's latest opponent. Hey everyone, Greg here. Before Iron Fist Season 2 drops on Netflix, we thought that this would be the perfect opportunity to refresh your memory of both villains' comic book origins. But first, make sure to hit that subscribe button where we got you covered for comic deep dives, TV breakdowns, and movie reviews. Let's start with Davos, aka Steel Serpent. Created by Chris Claremont and John Byrne, Steel Serpent first appeared in 1975's Iron Fist Volume 1, Issue 1. Native to Kunlun, the son of Lee Kun, the Thunderer, yes, that's his full name, Davos had dreams of becoming the immortal Iron Fist someday. In order to step out of his father's legendary shadows, Davos trained hard every day so that eventually he would be prepared for whatever came his way in the journey to become the Iron Fist. When that day finally arrived, Davos was one of the final two candidates for the right to challenge for the power of the Iron Fist. Unfortunately for him, he was defeated in single combat by Wendell Rand. Badly.
What ensued was one of the most spectacular ass-whoopings ever witnessed in the Atlantic Northeast. Viewer discretion is advised.
The UT, who happened to be Wendell's father and ruler of Kunlun, would throw in the white towel to save Davos' life. This pissed off Davos to no end as he accused the UT of being biased towards his own son. Lei Kung would tell his son to shut up and take the L, but Davos' pride would get the best of him. One thing will lead to another and Davos would sneak out to challenge the dragon Xiao Lao in his cavern to gain the power of the Iron Fist despite his loss. Davos failed to defeat the dragon and he would be exiled to Earth for his actions. 20 years later, Wendell's son Danny Rand succeeded in winning the Iron Fist power and soon afterwards returned to Earth. Davos would soon track Rand down and steal his power, possessing it for a short while until it consumed him, and Danny would eventually absorb it back into himself. When he's at full strength, Davos' powers mirror those of the Iron Fist. This includes enhanced agility, super strength, magic, healing, and energy absorption. Steel Serpent also has the ability to drain the power of the Iron Fist from its wielder by pressing his serpent tattoo against the wielder's dragon tattoo. Davos attempted many times over the years to kill Rand by absorbing the powers of Xiao Lao, and as you probably guessed, it never ends well for Davos. Let's move on to Typhoid Mary. Now with a name like that, you'd probably expect Mary to have some sort of disease-based powers, right? After all, the historical Typhoid Mary became famous after the first documented case of an asymptomatic typhoid fever carrier. But comic book Mary has nothing to do with spreading infections, chaos maybe, but not disease. Introduced back in 1988 with Daredevil 254, Typhoid Mary is actually a psionic-powered mutant with split personality. But don't worry, it's not as complicated as it sounds. Mary's situation revolves around the fact that she has 2, sometimes 3, separate personalities.
Oh, you bastard! Stop it! You're gonna kill him!
There's Mary, who's relatively normal if a bit timid, and there's Typhoid, a brutal psionic femme fatale. Sometimes there's a third, Bloody Mary, who's the most violent and murderous of the bunch. Now, if you want to get really technical, there's actually a fourth personality present, Mary Walker, which is, in theory, her base identity, and a mix of all the disparate traits and pieces of the other 3, but that one is a pretty rare occurrence. Her psionic abilities usually manifest as pyrokinesis, but she's shown to be telekinetic and even hypnotically telepathic as well, depending on the day. Now for those trying to keep track at home, Mary has no powers, Typhoid has pretty strong powers, and Bloody Mary has the strongest powers of the bunch. Mary's personality roulette seems to be mostly brought on by high-stress situations, but her identities aren't exactly autonomous. It's not quite a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation or a Bruce Banner Hulk situation, though sometimes it's close. Both Mary and Typhoid are aware of the other's actions and they share a memory, but switching between the two is usually something that both of them deeply resents. In her originating story arc, Kingpin attempted to manipulate Mary after reading her case file, thinking that her split personality would be the perfect answer to the Murdoch-Daredevil schism. Kingpin's ongoing fixation with the interplay between Matt Murdock as a human being and Daredevil as a vigilante, and a way to ruin both the man and the hero simultaneously. It turned out he was totally right, with the switch between Mary and Typhoid with the aid of some ridiculous ridiculous comic book science meant Mary had one scent, heart pattern, and heat signature, and Typhoid had another, so Matt's super senses were completely unable to distinguish that they were actually the same person. As Daredevil, he fought tooth and nail against the vicious Typhoid, and as Matt Murdock, he helplessly tried to win the love of Mary. Unsurprisingly, he was terrible at both, especially since Matt's own deep-seated issues made it impossible to tell which he found more thrilling, battling Typhoid in costume or protecting Mary as a civilian. Davos made his on-screen debut in 2017, where he's portrayed by Sacha Dhawan. At the very end of Season 1, Davos and Danny had a falling out due to his envy over Danny becoming the Iron Fist.
I kicked your ass back in Kunlun, and I kicked your ass here!
The last time we saw Davos, it looked like he was joining forces with Joy Meacham. From what we've seen in the trailers, it looks like fans will finally get to see a full-on Serpent vs. Iron Fist showdown with the Red Fist and all. And when it comes to Alice Eve's version of Typhoid Mary, what parts of her comic book history will or won't be included is still anyone's guess. The Netflix MCU tends to try to avoid flashier superpowers like pyrokinesis, but in shows like Iron Fist where mystical dragons and G-related shock blast are fair game, anything could be possible. Also, it's worth noting that historically, Mary rarely acts alone, and though Fist's return has already been teased in Daredevil Season 3, it might be worth your while to keep your eyes peeled for any signs of a hidden Kingpin agenda when Iron Fist's new season hits Netflix on September 7th. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let us know if you're excited for Iron Fist Season 2 in the comments section down below. And until next time, keep it tuned to GameSpot Universe.